Welcome to Sumita Roy's English classroom. I am Professor Sumita Roy, and today I have a video for you which is based on a true story. Begin to speak in a week. Everybody will wonder, is it possible to begin to speak in 6 days? So we shall hear the story of Shubh, how Shubh struggles and how he succeeds. He begins in a week and then he practices for years. When in 1 year he gets great success, he says, I will practice it lifelong. This I have told you many times, that all of us who learn English as our second or third language need to practice it all the time. Each day we can learn something new. After 45 years of teaching English, I cannot say that I don't learn something every day. Language learning is an endless process. So begin to speak. In 6 days, you begin. Because most of you have the fear of beginning. That is where the problem lies. The fear of beginning is what you need to overcome. And once you overcome that fear, you will find that the rest of the journey is much easier. The first day you start speaking, you feel nervous, you feel worried, you feel that you will never be able to do. When you look back to that day after some time, you say, oh, is it I who said I cannot learn? I can learn very well. I know of youngsters, who start crying when they are asked to speak. When I conduct workshops, there are people who don't know how to speak a single sentence. They will speak a lot in their mother tongue, but they will not speak a word in English. And then one of them started crying recently. So I said, don't worry, I will come and hold your hand. Then while holding my hand, you start saying these sentences in English. You won't believe it was a 5-hour workshop. After 5 hours in the evening, that same student could speak at least 5 or 6 sentences in English on her own, without any help from me. In another workshop, I told them you have to speak for 2 minutes each. Then if you feel very frightened, then you tell me, I will come and hold your hand. Now I'm holding your hand online, all of you who are here on this channel. So out of about 20 students, one student said, I'm feeling very nervous. So I went and stood next to that person. That person could speak very well. One boy said, I cannot understand any English. And then when I gave the exercise, that boy could do that very well. So these are the problems everybody is encountering. It's not as though I learnt English without problems. All of us learn with problems. Here Shubh will tell us his problems, and he will also tell us how he learnt to speak, how he began to speak exactly in 1 week. Let us learn from him. Let us see whether all of you who want to learn can practice this. Shubh, you have given a great speech today, said his boss. Other colleagues also congratulated him. Shubh could not believe that he had spoken in English in front of all these people. How had he done this? He still couldn't believe it. It had all begun with that 1 week which had changed his life. He knew It worked, and he wanted to share this miracle with everyone who was struggling to speak English. He remembered one day a year ago. He was sitting alone in the lunchroom. He ate his lunch slowly. No one came to share his table with him. He felt lonely and sad. There was a loud laughter from the next table. Someone had shared a joke in English, and everyone was enjoying it. Shubh looked down at his plate quickly. He didn't speak English well and avoided this group of colleagues. They always spoke only in English. He felt very uncomfortable being near them. At another table, another group was talking in their own language. Shubh couldn't talk with them as he didn't know the local language. He had come from a small town far away. In his town, he was known for being an excellent student. He and his parents had been so happy when he got a job during campus placements. He had been told during the interview that he should improve his English. Still, he got the job because his technical skills were better than the others. Now, he had been sent off to a far off place where the language barrier was making his life miserable. How could he make friends? How could he improve his English? He was so scared to even open his mouth. If someone asked him anything, he replied in one word, yes or no. He hesitated, cleared his throat, or spoke so softly that the other person couldn't hear him. He knew they must all be laughing behind his back. He felt embarrassed, but still he could not improve. He just didn't know how to do it. He had zero confidence. Suddenly, one day, he heard that it was possible to begin speaking English in a week. There were some steps he had to follow. Was this possible? In 1 week, could he begin speaking? In his entire life of 22 years, he had not spoken even one proper sentence. He could read and write English. He could understand everything, but no words came out when he wanted to speak. His mind became blank. He got nervous. So, Shubh made up his mind to try out the 1 week tips and tricks. No harm in that. He would see what happened. He had enough time after office to do everything he had to. If he succeeded, it would be so wonderful. Now for the steps. Day 1. Shubh had to listen to English for 5 minutes. But he would have to listen 5 times to the same passage. That would take 25 minutes. Then he would have to repeat as much as he could remember of the listening passage. He could practice by standing in front of the mirror. All this would take about half an hour or 40 minutes. Shubh tried it. After listening 5 times, many words and sentences remained in his memory. But when he tried to say them aloud, he could not say much. Anyway, he did not give up. He listened again and tried saying something in English. Instead of half an hour, it took him 2 or 3 hours on the first day to speak a few sentences aloud. This encouraged and motivated him. Day 2. On this day, Shubh had to look at things around him and name them in English. Then he had to make a sentence with each. Shubh was confused. He got up in the morning and looked at his room. He thought in his mind that it was his room and he lived there. The room had a bed, a table, 2 chairs, a ceiling fan, and a wardrobe for his clothes. But all this he could say in his mother tongue. When he tried to say it in English, he couldn't. He was scared he would make some mistakes. Then he got an idea. He remembered seeing a video on naming words. After searching for it, he watched the video 5 times, like he had to do on day 1. Then he made one sentence each with room, bed, table, chair, food, tree, wall, road, cab, office, and many, many other things he saw around him that day. It was like a game, and he got interested in saying all these in English. Day 3. Now Shubh had to read an English newspaper for just 5 minutes. He thought, I read a newspaper every day, but it has not helped me speak English till now. So he carefully checked what this step was all about. Oh, he had missed important points. He had to read aloud for 5 minutes. And he had to read the same passage 3 times. Then he would have to say in his own words and in English whatever he had read. He would have to record his speech and compare it with the newspaper passage. This was a difficult step. He could not read aloud properly. So he spent an hour reading a few lines again and again. Every time he made a new mistake. Finally, he could read the passage properly. Now, the speaking part was more difficult. He had been trying to read well, so he did not concentrate on the meaning. He had to read it again. Then he had to speak 5 times before his speech could compare to the newspaper passage. Day 4. Shubh had to greet at least 5 people and ask them one question in English. Now his confidence was being tested. He thought he would fail to do this. But as soon as he came out of his room in the morning, he saw a neighbor whom he usually avoided. He said, "Good morning," and he smiled. "You living in next room?" The neighbor smiled and said yes and walked on. Shubh was happy he had done 1 out of 5. But he knew his question was not good English. He would check the grammar. Maybe living should have been live. When he went to get milk, he met two people who came every day at the same time as he did to buy milk. He built up his courage, greeted them, and asked one question to each. They answered him but looked surprised, as Shubh had never spoken to them before. Somehow, Shubh managed to greet 5 people, but felt very tired by the end of the day. Should he stop with 4 days and not do the remaining 2? No, because that evening he could order food from a nearby place in English. He managed to speak quite a few sentences in English, which impressed him. This was the first time in his life when he felt he could say something in English clearly. Day 5. Shubh would have to choose 5 topics and say a few sentences about each. He could stand in front of the mirror or record a video of his speaking on his phone. Shubh was shocked. 5 topics? What 5 topics could he speak on? That too in English? His mind was blank at first. Finally, he thought, okay, I can speak about my job. He did that with some difficulty. But while he was speaking, he got an idea. He could speak about his family, parents, uncles, cousins. So he did that. Now it was not so difficult. Then he thought he could speak about the school where he had studied, his old college, the town where he grew up. He was amazed that he had found 5 topics. He spoke, he recorded, and when he watched these, he was quite pleased. In 5 days, he had improved. Yes, wow, he had begun speaking. Day 6. The week was coming to an end. Today's task was for Shubh to carry out a 5-minute conversation with someone. Again, Shubh was worried. How to start a conversation? Who would be willing to talk to him? But he had to try. So he chose the colleague who sat in the cubicle next to him. He greeted his colleague and asked him about the project he was doing. The colleague was surprised because till that day Shubh had not spoken one word with him. He was a nice person, so he replied politely and asked Shubh about his work. Both spoke for some time, and soon Shubh realized that more than 5 minutes were over since they started speaking. He was overjoyed. Even if he made mistakes and had to think in his mother tongue, he was actually speaking in English. What an achievement! Day 7. Shubh was excited as it was the last day of his week-long effort. The practice he had to do was to think in English for the whole day and speak spontaneously. So, for every thought which came to his mind that day, he forced himself to use only English. At the end of the day, he could honestly tell himself that he had thought in English almost the whole day and spoken more than ever in English. Now, Shubh was happy with what he could achieve in a week. But he knew that these 7 days were only the beginning. He had to improve more, and this would take many months or years. So he resolved to spend 2 hours every evening till he became perfect. He worked very hard. And today's speech, which he gave at the office function, showed him how his hard work was rewarded. All the praise made him feel joyful. He was so motivated that he decided to continue improving his English for many years to come. He knew he could do it, and he wanted everyone who was struggling like he had been to try this week-long beginning and then reach the topmost level of excellence in English. Will you do as Shubh did and master English speaking? I hope you have heard, understood, and appreciated the problems of Shubh and how he overcame them. It should be a motivation for all of you to overcome your problems of learning a language and speaking that language excellently. Shubh says at the end that, are we able to do this, what he has achieved? I'm sure all of you can achieve it. So watch it more number of times. If you feel that you have missed out all what he did on 6 days, he took a week's challenge. He took 6 days and he managed to benefit himself and get the praise of all the people who heard his English. But remember how he began? He began like all of us begin, with struggle. He began with difficulties. He began with depression. and he began with the feeling that he can never speak English. But this did not happen. He spoke. These 6 days are very important in each one of your lives who keep sending messages saying, we are beginners. So for beginners, this is an important video. Please watch the video again and again if you have difficulties in remembering the 6 days and the 6 exercises. Then practice them sincerely. Remember that your hard work pays. If you don't do hard work, if you just depend on somebody else, you can never speak a language because there is nobody who can speak the language for you. You have to do it yourself. Once you do that, you will feel greatly enjoying the process of speaking. As you improve, your enjoyment increases. And when people tell you you are speaking well, you feel happiest. So I wish you all the best and thank you for watching.